Hey everyone, welcome back to Small English Talk. If this is your first time here, my name is Jennifer. I'm a native English speaker, but more than that, I'm someone who genuinely loves listening to how people think when they speak, not just how correct their sentences are. This podcast is not about perfect English, and it's definitely not about fast English. It's about real conversations, the kind where you pause, where you change your mind halfway through a sentence, or you laugh at yourself a little and then you keep going anyway. And today's episode is special because we're doing something a bit different. We're talking about how to sound more natural in English, yes, but not by memorizing rules or copying accents. We're doing it through a real conversation. And for that, I have a guest with me today.
Hola, hola. Hello, everyone. I already feel like my voice sounds very exposed right now.
That's a good place to start, actually. All right, go ahead. Introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Alejandro. I'm from Mexico. I grew up speaking Spanish, of course, and now I live in Canada. I work in English, I think in English most of the day, and honestly, English is a big part of my life now. But even with all that, people almost always know that I'm not a native speaker. Sometimes they say it directly, sometimes they don't. But there's always this small moment where I can feel it, like they're listening a little harder or waiting a little longer.
That pause.
Yes, that pause. And it's not rude, it's not bad, but it makes me very aware of myself.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because the strange thing is, I don't feel lost in English. I understand people. I understand jokes, meetings, emails, sarcasm, all of that. But when I speak, I still feel like I'm walking carefully, like I'm choosing every step instead of just moving.
That's such a clear way to describe it.
And sometimes I miss the version of myself that exists in Spanish. In Spanish, I'm fast, I'm expressive, I interrupt, I joke, I exaggerate. In English, I'm quieter, more polite, more careful.
Almost like you shrink a little.
Exactly. And I hate that feeling because it's not really me.
I'm really glad you said that because that's actually the heart of today's episode. This is not about erasing your accent, and it's not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about letting your real personality come through in English without fear stopping it.
That already feels lighter.
Before we go deeper, let's just talk naturally for a moment. No goal, no pressure. Tell me about your morning today.
All right. This morning, I woke up very early because I had a meeting that I was a little nervous about. I didn't sleep very well, honestly, because my brain was already working before my alarm even rang.
That's very relatable.
And when I woke up, the first thing I thought was, okay, today is going to be one of those days where I need coffee immediately.
Same.
So I made myself a coffee, very strong, probably too strong, and I drank it quickly because I realized I was already late for work, which unfortunately is not a new story for me.
Late for work is a familiar feeling for many people.
Yeah, and when I arrived, my boss looked at me and said, "Good morning," but with that tone that already tells you I noticed.
That tone is universal.
Exactly. And I tried to explain why I was late, and I said something like, "Sorry, the traffic was very crazy today," which I know is not perfect, but in the moment, it felt good enough.
And that's important. It was good enough.
Yes, but in my head, I immediately started correcting myself. I thought, should I have said really crazy or just crazy or something else? And while I was thinking that, the conversation had already moved on.
That's such an important moment because that's where a lot of confidence disappears, not because you weren't understood, but because you judged yourself after speaking.
Exactly. It's like I keep replaying my own sentences instead of listening to the other person.
And that's exhausting.
Very. Something I notice a lot is that when I'm relaxed, my English sounds much better. But when I feel nervous, suddenly I start saying things I know are wrong, like I didn't slept well or I didn't knew about that. and I hear it as I say it, but it still comes out.
That happens because your brain is under pressure. It goes back to patterns that feel familiar, not necessarily correct.
That makes sense, because those mistakes feel very automatic.
Exactly. And the good news is you don't need to stop the conversation to fix them. You can just gently adjust and continue the same way native speakers do when they misspeak.
That idea helps a lot, actually. Because usually when I make a mistake, I feel like I should stop, apologize, explain myself, and then everything becomes awkward.
And that's the moment where people stop focusing on your ideas and start focusing on your English, which is exactly what you don't want.
Yes, I do that all the time. I say things like, sorry for my English, or my English is not very good, even though I know that's not really true.
And when you say that, you're taking away your own authority. Native speakers almost never apologize for their language, even when they make mistakes.
That's interesting. So instead of apologizing, I should just keep going?
Exactly. If you lose a word, you can say something like, let me say that again, or I'm looking for the right word, and then continue. That sounds confident, not weak.
That feels very different emotionally. Another thing that really affects me is meetings. When I'm in a group and everyone is speaking fast, I feel like I have to jump in quickly or I'll miss my chance. And then I start speaking before my sentence is fully ready.
And that's when mistakes happen.
Yes, I'll say something like, I'm agree with this idea. And immediately I know it should be I agree, but it's already out.
That's a very common one, especially for Spanish speakers.
It's been following me for years.
But notice something. Even when you say it wrong, everyone still understands you. The problem is not communication. The problem is how you feel afterward.
That's true. Nobody looks confused, they just continue.
Exactly. And when you calmly correct yourself and move on, you actually sound more natural, not less.
So if I say, I agree with this, that's okay?
That's more than okay. That's human.
You know, earlier you said something that really stayed with me. You said that when you speak English, you feel like you're performing instead of living.
Yeah.
And I'd love to stay with that for a moment, because I think a lot of people listening probably felt that sentence in their body.
It's the inner commentator, right?
Exactly. When I speak Spanish, I don't think about how I sound at all. I'm just inside the moment. But when I speak English, there's this second version of me in my head, listening to every word, checking it, judging it, sometimes even interrupting me.
And that voice is usually not very kind.
No, it's terrible. It's always saying things like, that sentence was weird, or you should have used a better word, or they probably noticed your accent just now.
And the worst part is that voice usually starts speaking after the sentence is finished. So you're not listening to the other person anymore. You're just replaying your own mistake.
That is exactly what happens. I remember a moment that really shows this. A few months ago, I was in a meeting and I had an idea that I genuinely believed in. I was ready. But when the moment came to speak, my heart started beating fast.
The physical reaction is real.
Very real. And I started speaking and I said something like, what I want to say is that this solution is more better for the client. And as soon as I said more better, I felt this hot wave of embarrassment.
Because you knew it should just be better.
Exactly. And for a second, I wanted to stop. I wanted to disappear a little. But then I remembered what we talked about, that nobody actually cares about the grammar as much as the idea. So I just took a breath, said, sorry, better for the client, and I kept going.
And how did that feel?
Honestly, it felt powerful because I didn't make it a tragedy. I didn't explain myself. I just fixed it and moved on.
That is such a massive shift. You know, another trap I see people fall into is trying to sound intelligent by using complex words.
Oh, I am guilty of this. Sometimes I choose words that I wouldn't even use in Spanish just because I think they sound more professional in English.
But then what happens?
I end up sounding stiff, like a robot, or like I'm reading a contract.
Exactly. And the irony is, native speakers usually speak very simply. We don't say, I am currently fatigued, therefore I shall not attend. We say, I'm tired, so I'm not going.
That's a big realization for me. Simplicity doesn't mean you're stupid. It means you're comfortable.
Yes, simplicity is confidence.
There's one last thing I want to ask you about. It's about compliments. Sometimes people ask where I'm from. I tell them Mexico, and they say, "Oh, your English is very good."
And how does that make you feel?
It's complicated. Part of me feels proud, but another part of me feels uncomfortable. Like I don't want my English to be the main thing they notice about me. I want them to notice my ideas.
That makes total sense. So, what do you usually say?
In the past, I would say, no, it's not very good. I make many mistakes. But lately, I've just been saying thank you.
That is perfect.
It felt arrogant at first, but now saying thank you feels like I'm just accepting myself. I'm accepting that yes, I have an accent. Yes, I learned this language, and that's okay.
It's more than okay. Your accent is evidence that you have a story. It's evidence that you can navigate two worlds. You shouldn't hide that.
I like that. I think I'm finally understanding that sounding native isn't about sounding perfect. It's about sounding free.
That's the word, free. I think that is a beautiful place to pause for today. If you're listening right now and you recognize yourself in Alejandro's story, the fear, the self-correction, the feeling of shrinking, I want you to know something. You do not need to erase your accent to be respected, and you do not need perfect grammar to have something valuable to say.
Exactly. If you are speaking, even with mistakes, even with pauses, you are already doing the hardest part.
Fluency grows when fear gets smaller, not when vocabulary gets bigger. So let yourself speak. Let yourself be human in English.
Thank you for listening, and thank you, Jennifer, for letting me share my imperfect English.
It wasn't imperfect at all, Alejandro. It was real. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. And if you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to Small English Talk.
Bye, everyone.